The internet moved differently last night. It wasn't the usual slow scroll through mundane updates or sponsored celebrity greetings for the Lunar New Year. It was a tremor, a digital earthquake that started in the dark corners of a fringe gossip forum and radiated outward until it consumed every timeline, every group chat, every fan account dedicated to Chinese entertainment. The source of the quake was a photograph. A single, unassuming, frustratingly blurry photograph. In it, two figures sit across from each other at a table dressed with the remnants of a festive meal. Red lanterns glowing softly in the background, the atmosphere intimate and warm. One figure, with a sharp jawline and a posture of quiet intensity, bore a striking resemblance to Wang Yibo. The other, with a gentle smile and eyes that crinkled at the corners, looked unmistakably like Xiao Zhan. The caption was simple, almost poetic. "Some bonds the new year cannot break." And with that, years of carefully constructed separation, of solo careers meticulously built, of fan speculation meticulously managed, all seemed to collapse into a single, pixelated moment. The photograph spread with the speed of a whispered secret in a crowded room. It was screenshotted, reposted, zoomed in, and dissected before the original post could even be deleted, which it inevitably was. For the legions of fans who have cherished the on-screen chemistry and off-screen camaraderie of these two stars since their explosive rise to fame in the Untamed, it was a moment of profound validation. Tears were shed, messages of celebration flooded social media, and the air was thick with the belief that a friendship, hidden from the public eye for so long, had been beautifully, accidentally revealed. It felt like a gift, a private moment of shared humanity between two of the most watched, most scrutinized individuals in Asia, offered up to the world on a night meant for family and reunion. The desire to believe was, and remains, a powerful force, painting the grainy image with the colors of hope and longing. Yet, as the initial wave of euphoria began to recede, it left behind a shoreline littered with questions. The internet, after all, is not just a place of belief. It is a place of investigation. The amateur detectives, armed with a passion for their idols that borders on the forensic, went to work. They pulled at the threads of the image, and the whole fabric began to unravel. First came the metadata, the hidden digital fingerprint of the photograph. It revealed the image was not captured on the eve of the new year, as the caption implied, but several weeks prior. This small discrepancy was the first crack in the facade of authenticity. Why would a current, candid moment carry a timestamp from the past? The question hung in the air, unanswered and unsettling. Then, the attention turned to the details within the frame. The clothing on the figure presumed to be Wang Yibo was compared, pixel by pixel, to his recent public appearances. The jacket was similar to one he owned, but the cut of the collar, the placement of a small stitch, seemed off. It was as if someone had dressed a mannequin to look like him, achieving a 70% resemblance, but missing the crucial, intimate details that make a person unique. The same scrutiny was applied to the figure of Xiao Zhan. The way he held his chopsticks, a habit fans have documented over hundreds of hours of footage, was almost correct, but not quite. It was like watching a talented impersonator in a dimly lit club. From a distance, the illusion holds, but up close, the magic fades. The suspicion began to dawn that this was not a candid moment captured by chance, but a scene staged with intention, a tableau designed to exploit the very desire it had awakened. This suspicion led to the most plausible, and for many, the most disappointing theory, the look-alike theory. It is an open secret that a shadow industry exists, populated by individuals who make a living by mimicking the appearance and mannerisms of the rich and famous. For a fee, one can hire a Wang Yibo impersonator, a Xiao Zhan impersonator, dress them in approximations of the star's style, and stage any scenario imaginable. A private room in a restaurant, some well-placed New Year decorations, and a strategically blurry camera phone are all it takes to create a viral sensation. The motive? For the original source, the obscure gossip account that first posted the image, the payoff is massive. Engagement, followers, notoriety, the currency of the digital age. In a slow news cycle, a manufactured scandal is better than no scandal at all. The photo was not a leak. It was a product, designed and marketed to the most eager consumers in the world. The silence from the official camps only deepens the mystery and fuels the fire on both sides. Wang Yibo's management, typically swift and severe in its response to privacy violations or false rumors, has offered no comment. Their social media feeds churn with scheduled promotional content, as if nothing has happened. Xiao Zhan's team, equally vigilant in protecting their star's image, has also remained mute. For those clinging to the photo's authenticity, this silence is deafening in its confirmation. They argue that a denial would have been instant if the photo were fake. The fact that none has come suggests the teams are paralyzed, unsure how to address a genuine private moment that has become public. For the skeptics, the silence is a strategic choice. They believe the teams have correctly assessed that issuing a denial would breathe more life into the story, transforming a fleeting piece of gossip into an official event. By ignoring it, they hope it will wither and die, starved of the oxygen of official acknowledgement. It is a high-stakes gamble, leaving the narrative to be shaped by the very forces that created it. Caught in the middle of this ambiguity are the fans themselves, and the photograph has become a weapon in a long-simmering war. On one side are the devoted followers of the duo, the CP fans, for whom this image is a cherished artifact. They see it as proof of an enduring bond, a testament to a friendship that has survived the pressures of fame, the demands of solo careers, and the passage of time. For them, the photo is a symbol of hope and loyalty. On the other side are the solo fans, the dedicated supporters of either Wang Yibo or Xiao Zhan individually, who view this narrative with deep suspicion and resentment. They see the photograph as a threat, a force that drags their idol back into an old story, overshadowing their current achievements and hard-won individual identities. They work tirelessly to debunk the image, to point out its flaws, to argue that their idol deserves to be seen as a complete artist, not just half of a famous pair. The comment sections of every related post have become battlegrounds, a toxic landscape of accusations, defenses, and raw emotion, proving that a single blurry image can fracture a community as easily as it can unite it. The background details of the photo, once hailed as proof of its authenticity, have now become its greatest weakness. The distinctive calligraphy of the Chinese character for fortune hanging on the wall was initially celebrated as a unique detail that could place the scene in a known location. Superfans scoured years of vlogs and behind-the-scenes footage, finding a similar hanging in an old video from Wang Yibo's residence. For a moment, it seemed like the smoking gun. But the victory was short-lived. Within hours, skeptics had found the exact same calligraphy-style fortune character listed for sale on a popular e-commerce site for a price accessible to anyone. The unique detail was revealed to be a mass-produced decoration, present in thousands of homes across the country. What was once evidence became a coincidence, a reminder that in the age of global commerce, uniqueness is a rare commodity. The wall hanging, like the photo itself, was a prop, stripped of its power to prove anything. This relentless cycle of analysis and debate speaks to a deeper psychological truth about modern fandom. The hunger for a photograph like this is not merely curiosity about the lives of the rich and famous. It is a hunger for narrative closure, for emotional continuity. For millions, the story of Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji from the Untamed was more than just entertainment. It was a profound emotional experience, a tale of loyalty, sacrifice, and an unbreakable bond. Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan, in embodying those characters, became the living vessels of that story. Seeing them together, even in a blurry, questionable photograph, allows fans to believe that the story continues, that the beautiful bond they cherished on screen exists in some form in the real world. It provides a sense of comfort, a reassurance that the values of loyalty and deep connection are not just fiction. The photo, real or fake, taps into a genuine human need for connection and meaning, projected onto the canvas of celebrity. Complicating this emotional landscape is the immense commercial reality that surrounds both men. Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan are not just actors, they are economic powerhouses. Each holds endorsement deals with a constellation of global luxury brands, tech giants, and consumer products, representing billions of dollars in market value. Their individual images are meticulously curated and fiercely protected. The value of them appearing together, however, would be astronomical, a marketing synergy that could break the internet and fill corporate coffers. This commercial reality introduces a cynical, but not impossible theory, that the leak was a calculated move. Perhaps a brand that works with both, or seeks to work with both, orchestrated this sighting to gauge public reaction, to warm up the market for a potential joint venture. It reminds the public, and more importantly, other advertisers, of the immense power of their combined image. In this interpretation, the photo is not a leak or a hoax, but a piece of stealth marketing, a test balloon flown to see which way the wind of public opinion is blowing. If it were a genuine paparazzi shot, the trajectory of the photograph would have looked very different. A professional who managed to capture two of the most elusive stars in Asia in a private moment would not sell that image to a low-tier gossip account for a handful of digital dollars. They would auction it to the highest bidder among major media outlets, commanding a price that could set them up for years. The fact that the photo first appeared on the fringes of the internet, on an account with a history of speculative and often debunked content, is perhaps the strongest evidence against its authenticity. It suggests an amateur operation, a deliberate leak designed for maximum viral impact with minimum professional accountability. The path the image took from obscurity to global virality is as telling as the image itself, a journey that speaks of intention, not accident. Digital forensics experts, both amateur and professional, have added their voices to the chorus of analysis, focusing on the light within the frame. The shadows on the faces of the two figures, they argue, do not behave consistently with the apparent light sources in the room. The warm glow from the overhead lamp and the cool light from what might be a window create a lighting environment that should produce specific shadow patterns. Yet, the shadow beneath the jawline of the Wang Yibo figure seems to point in a slightly different direction than the shadow cast by the vase on the table. This inconsistency, subtle but present, is a classic hallmark of photo manipulation. It suggests that perhaps the faces, or even the entire figures, have been composited into a background scene. Without the original high-resolution file, a definitive conclusion is impossible. But the questions raised by the light are enough to keep the flame of doubt burning brightly, preventing the photograph from ever being accepted as simple truth. Looking back, this moment feels like a chapter in a longer story, a recurring pattern in the digital lives of these two stars. There have been other leaks before. Photos of matching bracelets that turned out to be edited from separate events, videos of closeness that were cleverly angled shots of them simply being in the same vicinity. Each time, the fandom cycles through the same stages of shock, belief, analysis, and ultimately, uncertainty. This history creates a context of skepticism. The barrier for a successful hoax is incredibly low. A blurry image, a suggestive caption, and a few bot accounts to provide initial engagement are all it takes. The passionate community does the rest, spreading the image and debating its merits, providing the very virality that the hoax seeks. We, the consumers and commentators, become unwitting participants in the cycle, our attention the fuel that keeps the fire burning. So, where does this leave us, days after the photograph first appeared and sent the internet into a tailspin? The truth, as it so often does, remains stubbornly out of reach. We are left with a spectrum of possibilities. At one end lies the beautiful dream, that the photo is real, that two friends found a quiet moment to celebrate the new year together, away from the glare of the world, and that this moment was accidentally preserved. At the other end lies the cynical reality, that the photo is a hoax, a cleverly staged piece of content designed by an unknown party to exploit a fanbase's deepest desires for attention and profit. And in between lies the vast gray area of speculation, where the truth is whatever we choose to believe. Perhaps the most honest conclusion is that the photograph is less important than the phenomenon it has revealed. It has laid bare the immense emotional investment of a global fandom, the fierce protectiveness of solo fans, the commercial forces that swirl around modern celebrity, and the fundamental human need to find connection and story in the images that flash across our screens. The photo may be a fake, but the feelings it evoked are undeniably, powerfully real. And in the end, that may be the only truth we can hold on to.